Hey everyone. Well, here's our first intro to Photoshop. And today we're just going to talk about layers and kind of look at the basic interface of Photoshop. Or if you're using a Chromebook, we're going to be able to use Photopea and work from there, which is pretty much exactly the same as Photoshop, whether you're on a computer or a Chromebook, and getting to understand the basic use and of layers in Photoshop. So let's go to back and first check out our first assignment. Your first assignment is in Google Classroom, and we're going to come up here to the assignment. By the way, the assignment, when you're done with this, you will have two screenshots or two snips that you will upload here. Layers one, first name last, layers two, and I'll show you examples of what those are going to look like. All right, first let's find the files, and I have the files for you. So let's go ahead and click. Let's go to my website, and up here on this first link is going to show you the files that you're going to need for this assignment. Now it's going to go to my Google Drive, and from here you're going to need to download them. You're going to download them and work from here. So the first file, we're going to work on this hamburger. So let's go ahead and download this on my PC. You're going to download it to your Google Drive if you're using a Chromebook, or here on a PC. We're just going to double click on it. It's going to open it here in Chrome, and I can go ahead and download it right here. So let's go ahead and download. It's going to download to the bottom corner, and I'm going to click here, and it'll open up in Photoshop. All right, so this is your first time using Photoshop, most likely. So let's talk about some basics. First off, we need to have this layers toolbar open. The second thing that I'm going to request, and you guys may or may not like this, but it is my preference always to have this double white toolbar on the left-hand side. I find it much easier to use the tools. We're going to click these fast forward, little double arrows, make this a double. And for the sake of this assignment, I'm going to have you uncheck auto select. You must be on your Move tool, which it's just like Adobe Illustrator. It's V, the shortcut is V. If I say black arrow V, my apologies. I'm referring to this Move tool, even though it's a four-headed arrow. It's still the same Move tool as Adobe Illustrator. Similar to the black arrow, V is the shortcut. So on the Move tool, we're going to go ahead and uncheck Auto Select up here at the top. All right. What that does, that's going to force us to actually select the layer if you'd like to move something. Photoshop is dependent on your layers. So if you want to move the top bun or the lettuce, you must click on that layer. So here I'm on the lettuce, cheese, top bun, and let's go ahead and move. I'm on the top bun. I'm on my move tool. Let's go ahead and move to the side and go back and click on each layer, and you can move each of them. The cheese, we could slide over here. The tomato, we could slide, click on the meat layer. And finally, last but not least, the bottom bun, and you can move everything apart. We also can turn layers on and off by just clicking on the eyeball, which is the visibility icon. So let's go ahead. For our first part of this assignment that you're going to turn is you're going to make a protein wrap, a lettuce wrap. Sorry, a protein style lettuce wrap. No bun, no carbs. So let's turn off the buns, and we just do that by clicking on the eyeball, and they disappear. They're not gone. We just can't see them. We could delete them, but why? It's free to keep them. We're just going to keep those layers there. Now those are gone. If you want them back, you click on the eyeball and they come back. Now what I promise is we're going to make a lettuce wrap. So to do a lettuce wrap, the lettuce needs to be on the bottom. So the way it works in Photoshop is similar to Illustrator, where you have a bring to front, send to back, but instead of bring to front, what you do is you drag something all the way up to the top. This would be your front, this would be your back. So if you want something in the back, well, let me kind of assemble this back together here, and let me put it back. I'm going to move the cheese. All right, so if I want the lettuce on the bottom, what I'm going to come over here is to my layers toolbar, take the lettuce, drag it all the way down to the very bottom, and now it's behind everything. Now, it doesn't matter that it's behind. I can barely see it. Since I have auto select turned off, I'm on the lettuce layer, so when I move, it's going to move the lettuce only. And then let's go back to the meat there. I'm going to put the cheese right here. And the tomato, for sake of this assignment, what I want you to turn in is this tomato is going to be on top. So I'm going to drag this tomato layer up above the cheese, and there we go. Now, if we're going to make this a real lettuce wrap, we need to have two layers of lettuce. So on this lettuce, what I'm going to do is down here at the bottom, plus sign is create new layer. This will add a blank layer right here. I clicked on it, but it says added a blank layer. I don't want that. Let me drag it to the trash can. There we go. So the lettuce layer, I'm going to drag it on top of this plus sign. Now we have two lettuce layers, the one that's on bottom and the one that we're going to make on top. Let's go ahead and move this second lettuce. There's the second lettuce, but for our lettuce wrap, we need to take this and put it on the top or in front. So there we go. We have a true lettuce wrap. All right, one last thing for sake of this introductory video is we're going to make I'm going to talk about layer blending mode and opacity. Opacity is the ability to see through something. Right now it's 100% opaque, which we can't see through it. So I'm on my tomato layer. You can see that right here. And if I reduce the opacity, it allows you to see through it. It's either clear or not. The opacity doesn't change anything other than the ability to see through it. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back up to like 80%. I do want to see that you've made this change for the assignment. I will be looking at when I grade this. But one other thing, more importantly, is I want to look at this layer blending mode. We'll be talking about this a lot as the semester goes on. Under normal, right here, let's click down and you can go through and we have all these different ways that it takes this layer and blends it with the layers behind it. So depending on where the tomato is, it will actually look differently. So let's come here to difference. But I'm taking the tomato and blending it with what's behind it or underneath it. And depending on what it's on, if it's on top of the cheese, we'll look now the patty, the lettuce is all behind it. So the layer blending mode is one that we like to play with as we get to further on in our Photoshop exploration, but I just want to be aware of it. All right, so for first part of this assignment, you are going to take a screenshot of this. You're going to take a screenshot of this and turn it in, and it's going to look similar to, let's go back to my website here. These are the assignment files that you're going to find. Here's the first one, the screenshot. You're going to make sure you name it. I am going to be checking to see that you name your files correctly. Layers 1, last name first, and it should look similar to this. Lettuce wrap, and I can see that the tomato has been edited. I can see it right here. Oh, the screenshot. Please include your layers toolbar in your screenshot. All right. When you're in Photopea, if you're going to use Photopea, what you're going to do is this is Photopea, which is basically a knockoff version of Photoshop. We're going to go File, Open, and since you've already downloaded it, I'm going to go to my downloads. I'm going to find out where I downloaded it. I downloaded it in my OneDrive. So let's go to my downloads and click on the hamburger file right here. And as you can see, in Photopea, this looks very similar. We have the auto select, we have our move tool, we have our layers right here. If you want to move the tomato, you got to click on that layer and we can move the tomato. We have our layer blend mode and the opacity. You could do this exact assignment in Photopea or Photopea or in Photoshop. All right. The second part of this video is going to include the other files that we have. In the link from the assignment, there's these 3 other files, this DVD menu, the fish, and the flour. You're going to download all of these and open them either in Photopea, which you can see right here. Let me close the hamburger. I'm going to close that. I have them open right now, DVD, fish, or flour, or we can open them up in Photoshop. Let me go ahead and open them also. I already have them downloaded. I'm going to open all 3 of these actually. So I could click on all 3, DVD, fish, flour, hit enter. It's going to open them all in Photoshop. Now, when they open in Photoshop, they're all going to open up separately. Here's the fish file, flowers, DVD. My preference in working in Photoshop is to pull these down. So up here at this top tab, just click, pull down, and we have each file separately. To me, I find it easier to share elements from one design to another. And this DVD, let's pull it down. All right, so now I have my 3 files. Now for this part of the second part of the assignment, the second screenshot you're going to turn in is just exploring that you can, let's look at the fish. These are all the different layers. Let's turn all these layers off, the visibility. So in Photoshop, we build art in layers. It'll make sense later on of why that's so important. We have the purple fish, we can turn that off. We could have the rainbow fish, turn it on or off. Yellow fish, you get the idea. But if I go to this layer with the yellow fish, Let's click on it. You could either click right here and drag these fish to another file that you have, or you can, let's do a different one. Let's do the colorful fish. The colorful fish up here. I'm on the colorful fish layer. Come up here, grab the fish, and drag it on over. All right. And also, what we're doing is we're just looking and exploring and experimenting, trading layers, looking at the opacity. Let's check the sunflower. I do want you to play with the overlay. So this flower right here, let's drag this over to our water. We could adjust the opacity. We could turn it up or down the opacity. We could change the layer blending mode. I just want you to experiment, have fun, get comfortable in Photoshop. And for this one, quick, let me make this clear. If you're using Photopea, it's going to look a little bit differently. You cannot grab this tab and pull it down, but you can share elements. Let's go to the fish layer. So if you're on your Chromebook and you want to take something from the fish, I'm going to come here and let's go to the colorful fish layer. And I can grab the colorful fish. I'm going to drag it all the way up to the tab. It'll switch, and then I'm going to come and drop it in this one. So you can't put the images side by side, but if you want, let's go to rainbow fish. I'm on the rainbow fish layer. I could grab the rainbow fish, come over here, pause for a second, bring it into my DVD menu. All right. So it's a little bit different, but very similar if you're using Photopea. Now this one is going to be the second screenshot or snip you turn in. I want this one called Layers 2 with your last name, first name. Yours is not necessary. Do not copy these. I want you to come up with your own unique example. And I do want to see your layers toolbar. So when you take a snip or a screenshot on your Chromebook, have your file plus your layers toolbar. These are some examples that other students have done. They're all very different. Just coming up with something creative and combining different layers to come up with something fun. These all look great. All right, so for these, again, for this assignment, there's 2 files. Make sure they are labeled correctly after you take the snip. Let me come back again if you want to. No, I'll go over a snip later. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully you understand layers. Get those 2 screenshots or snips turned in, and I hope that helps you understand the use of layers in Photoshop. Have fun.